All right, we are live. Welcome back to the Transworld Motocross live stream. We are still thinking of a name for this, but it is our new Tuesday night stream. How are you doing? My name is Gavin Ayala. I'm here with Trey Steyer. Trey, you can say what's up.
What's up, everybody? Thank you for joining us this evening.
We have a lot to talk about. It was definitely an eventful weekend in St. Louis. Have a couple different perspectives for this one. I was there on the floor. Trey was at home this time. Last weekend we were both in Charlotte. This time he got to watch it from TV, different angle on everything that went down. And yeah, let's start. Let's get right into it. Let's talk about the track. I think it was pretty cool. I think my first impression, honestly, when I first got there on Friday for press day, I walked up, went through the stands, got to the top, saw it, and I was like, I thought it was pretty cool. I kind of was in my head, I was out loud. I kind of said, well, now this is more like super motocross, like what I more envisioned a little bit. But I got a little bit later, kind of my opinions changed a little bit on it. But I think initially I thought it was pretty cool, and it did also feel a little bit arena crossy because it was like in a dome, so it was covered, a little bit of a haze. Kind of reminded me of that. I'm kind of used to the open stadiums that we go to, so that was interesting. And I didn't go to St. Louis a couple years ago. The Supercross they had there, I wasn't there for that one, so I don't think I've ever actually been to the dome yet. So I think that's the one that Dean Wilson had his good time with the foot
Yeah.
peg, I think that was there. So yeah, I definitely wasn't there for that, or that would have been burned in my head. But yeah, it was cool. One of the things they did different, I guess, than a regular Supercross is they pulled the bleachers up. So it really opens up the floor. Actually, it felt huge in there. I think the stadium itself was just really big compared to like a regular baseball stadium. I think it's also something from the '90s, right? These kind of how they made them back in the
Yeah.
day. I think just a lot bigger to occupy like a lot of people. So I think it kind of felt like it wasn't a huge crowd, but also I just think it was, you know, that would gotta take that into account. It's just how big these old stadiums are. They don't make them like that anymore.
No, I mean, one of the things that I think of that you just mentioned, obviously, most stadiums we go to that are domes, like Ford Field in Detroit, Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, they have to take all the fields out, get all the football stuff out of there. Well, there hasn't been any football teams really. I mean, I know they have some XFL stuff, but no NFL team in St. Louis for a decade now. So it's probably a little bit easier to move things around, to move some bleachers up, to get logistics for the venue. I don't know what all goes on in the Dome at America Center, but it's definitely a venue with a lot of history. Of course, I know they mentioned on the broadcast Ricky Carmichael got his last win there. James Stewart got his last one there. Of course, there were some wild moments the last time we were there. Before that was the Triple Crown race where Jet Lawrence got absolutely smoked by Justin Barsha, even though it was not really an intended takeout, but it's one that happened nonetheless. And of course, Eli Tomac kept his win streak going that year as well. But definitely a large floor, and honestly, when I was looking at the track map, I'm like, "Man, this looks really cool," and, of course, you had the little section that was going outside, you had a little bit of a tunnel. I got some, like, Vegas Arena Cross vibes from it. I was waiting for somebody to just completely smoke someone in that section and be like, "Oh, there's only one camera in here, they'll never catch me." But, obviously, might have been plans to extend a little bit further than that, but still cool that we see a little piece outside. We don't usually get that. Vegas was really the only track back in the day in Supercross that we ever had an outside the stadium setting of any sort. But the track looked really cool. I mean, it's obviously going to be weird anytime you look at a Supercross track map and you don't see big triples, you don't see whoops. That was definitely a weird change that I didn't get adjusted to, but all in all, the track map looked really cool to me as well.
Yeah, I think yeah, like I said, it definitely looks pretty cool. I see your comments rolling already about Volan's crash, and we're actually going to cover that too. I actually have some footage from my vantage point that I shot that we'll actually get into and we'll watch. So we'll get into that. You guys, I encourage you to leave chats. I want all of us to be a part of the show. So this is kind of how we're doing it. This is a stream after all, trying to do it different than anyone else in the industry. But yeah, we're going to keep going into it. The track, yeah, no whoops, like you said, that was interesting, which also is a big factor for the bike setup, right? So like that's gonna change a lot too, for these riders to make their choices out there. And I thought it was cool. There was like the backwards dragons back. That was cool to see one of those again.
Yeah.
Definitely felt like Supercross when you walked in there. I mean, with the signage and all the stuff they do, and the lights and the TVs, everything lit up and going. Like you feel like you're just at Supercross. It's just
Yeah.
the wrong time, or something's off, or something's missing, or it was definitely different. And I think that's the thing, is just people are still getting used to this new series, that it's like maybe that's helping. Maybe that's kind of where some of the attendance might be struggling too. It's just people aren't used to it. I think people start, even when I grew up watching Supercross, it wasn't really about all the other races. It was about the one that me and my dad could go to each year. That was the one that came to our town. So that every year around that time, that's what you're doing, but you don't expect it to come back in September. So I
The
think,
second round is rotated every year as well. That's also another thing that might be, because you've had Charlotte as the opener every year. You had LA the first year as the finale. Of course, they've moved it to Vegas now, but the second year you've had it three completely different places. They went to Chicago, they went to Texas, Fort Worth area, and then now St. Louis. I mean, next year, who knows? It could be somewhere completely different. Maybe they have like a Miami SMX round or something crazy. That's probably part of it, because like you mentioned, every year, like I know for me, when I got into the sport, it's like, oh, High Point's Father's Day weekend. My dad and I and our family are going to go up there. And, every year you usually have things on the calendar like, okay, A1's in January, Daytona's in March, all these rounds planned out. And now, probably a little bit different, even though we announced them a year in advance. It's like, oh, St. Louis Supercross is in September, not March, not April, September. So it definitely
yeah,
throws things off a little bit for the ticket buyers, probably.
I think it throws it off. At the same time, I kind of like that it jumps around. I think that's the format that it should be doing. So it's just,
Mhm.
I think where we really need to figure out is, how do we make the tracks feel like, okay, this is super motocross. It is different than supercross, and it is different than motocross, right? But it is,
Yeah.
how do we make it its own thing? And I do feel like at St. Louis, it was almost really close, because that out part in the U-turn, there was so much potential there. I feel like it could have. I mean, we hear a lot of word about it sounding like it was supposed to, going out
Yeah.
into the convention
Some kind
center.
of word.
You put it out in the convention center. I mean, it was huge in there when I walked there, and if the pits were actually really spread about, and it looked really good. But it almost feels like they were kind of making room for everyone. Like everyone had a lot of room, and I kind of felt like there was room in there that you could have put a few S turns, or kind of done something in there. Even if you don't put jumps, at least add in some turns and stuff. But I'm sure there's things that we don't know, and just logistics and laws or fire whatever rules. I'm sure there's issues that really we can't do it. But what
So you're
other
saying we just
ways?
can't race dirt bikes in the middle of a random building?
No, I know that would be really cool. I
Ah,
mean,
come on,
I got
man.
some really cool ideas for stuff like that, but I just think at some point you just get pretty unsafe, because realistically, it's like, but that's the question. How do we make it different, but still be at a stadium, but still have those things? Do
Yeah.
we LA Coliseum? We put it up in the stands. Like that's cool, but we would realistically have to at least eliminate a third of the stadium to make it interesting. To at least make it go up, down, left, right, back, and then back down, not just a U-turn. I think we need
Yeah.
more than a U-turn, and then you have what we're kind of missing, which I think's elevation, right? Outdoors is
Yeah.
all about elevation change. Supercross or
Mhm.
flat rhythms. How do we add elevation through the stands, right? I mean, that seems like the right way, but then can we just shove everyone, in the
Yeah,
other,
you eliminate a big chunk of ticket sales potentially. I
yeah,
mean,
potentially,
depending on how much your section goes, you could block off 10,000 seats, and then
yeah,
you're in a dilemma there. It's like, man, that's a bunch of people who could be sitting in the stands, paying for the event, having a great time, and now you're essentially blocking them out of the racetrack.
yeah. So it's a hard thing to think about, but then you could even get crazy with it and stack shipping containers, or more scaffolding, or get really unsafe. I'm more thinking, I guess, it's not going to get that crazy until we're in the future, and it's like rollerblade style, or what's that movie? The just kind of something like that, and more a little bit more expendable, and they're just throwing them off, and people are going up if they had the track, going up and down like the ramps on the side of the stadium. That would be cool. But yeah, anyway, it'd be cool to see some ideas to make it the track, feel different or to make it have more of the motocross aspect. But realistically, it's pretty hard to do. I mean, I'm sure they tried. I'm sure they're trying, and I still thought it was really cool. I did. I kind of liked it. I didn't think it's. You almost go to each track and like, well, there's nowhere to pass. It's one lined, or this is going to be hard to pass. But it doesn't really matter for these guys. They make it happen. The guys that need to be where they need to be, they're going to make those passes anyway, and they did at this race. And we did get to see those battles. So it still kind of end of the day worked out. I think the potential was there for more. I think the idea was there to have more, but you know what? It is a new thing, and I support it. I think that's just the things that need to be addressed. I think it's just how do we make it different? You guys can leave some chats if you have some ideas how to make it different. But yeah, I think that's all I got for that. Maybe I can rant over on how to change a track.
Yeah, it's definitely something I've never been, of course, involved with any type
Yeah.
of track building. And I mean, I've honestly never even really designed any in the video games because sometimes I get in there and I try to do it and I'm like, well, how do I make this connect to this? And how do I make this interesting or whatever? So it's definitely a very hard job, not just for the ones who design the track, but for the dirt work guys to go out there to really execute everything and make sure it's all safe. Kind of an unenviable job in the aspect of they have to make sure everything is so perfect and make sure that nothing's wrong because sometimes things can change in an instant.
Yeah, I'm thinking things changing in an instant. We actually Maximus Volan, unfortunately had a pretty good get off, and it's actually, if anything, it was kind of the start of a little bit of Deegan and kitchen talk in this incident as well. um, but yeah,
Never thought about it that way.
there was someone I heard in a different show, I forgot where, but there was some sort of reference someone made about mentioning something about earlier with kitchen, and I believe this is what they were talking about, but um, it's hard to tell. I don't think it was anyone's fault. It just looked to me like two bikes kind of collected, bounced off each other,
Yeah,
and then it was just kind
just
of
chain reaction
yeah,
stuff.
victim of circumstance. He just kind of had a
Yeah.
big slam. So we can see it right here. I think is that a video or a crash? Here, hold on. Let me pull it up. I got it here on my angle because my angle was a pretty good one. It's pretty brutal. So just make sure you guys can see it. Yep. I think it was the first one. No, it was the second one.
And those Q2
Because
when
they
they
did
have
the gate
the
drop.
fake start is what you call it. Yeah.
Yeah, so they did the gate drop, and I'll slow it down a little bit. You can see Hayden collect first.
I think Davies goes in danger.
So he kind
Yeah,
of
a little bit.
right there is when that initiates him
Yeah.
falling over right
There,
there.
yeah, you already see Max leaning
You can see him leaning right there, and then he just boom,
right
and
into Kitchen's rear wheel. Yeah.
yeah, I think I was the only one that really got that like that because I kept showing it on the broadcast from up high, and you couldn't really see it. But he actually, I don't know. Can you go frame by frame on this? Forget. No.
He gets up right away, and you think, "Oh, that's good," but then immediately clutching the arm, and you're like, "Oh man."
I mean,
It's,
he almost goes for a ride right there. Look, like he gets kind of sucked into the tire, and he almost did he almost ended up way
Tedesco.
over here. Yeah, he almost got stuck in there, but he luckily kind of popped
Yeah.
out. But I'm wondering what actually it was. We ended up finding out it was a dislocated elbow.
Yep.
So I'm wondering what did it. I wonder if it's in this part right here with the bike, or if
Yeah. I
it's
mean, if he was sliding down and like his elbow bounced off the swing arm or the wheel or something like that, that could have easily done it, in my opinion. I mean, I'm not a doctor, I'm not an expert on injuries, but you see the force. If he was already sliding, and then all of a sudden, bam, to be ricocheted into the swing arm and wheel area, that I'm sure is probably what caused a lot of it, at least, if not all of it.
yeah, and you can see, like I knew right away. I was like, "Oh, that thing's out," and you could see that right there. So yeah, we'll whew. Feel bad for him. I think it's a pretty amazing story. Him out there already,
Yeah.
because running the handbrakes, um, pretty cool. Like he has an adaptive bike and he is like shredding. So really overcoming that. So, but these things happen. So I'm glad. Hopefully it's just a dislocation and they're able to just have a little time off and you can heal and come back strong for A1.
Unfortunately, it was really both of the big comeback stories of this year. Austin Forkner, of course, went out in practice as well. We don't have any word right now from Triumph if he's racing this weekend or whatnot. But look at Voland, like his story. I mean, he has a strange career arc as it was before this big injury. I mean, you think about it, and back when he turned pro 2021, the Troy Lee Designs team was running the KTM factory program. They get moved over to the sister Gas brand. KTM doesn't have anything, so they're like, well, let's pull our B group guy up and send him pro 2 years early. Of course, some ups and downs, but Max showed a lot of potential, especially outdoors, had some really nice top 5 runs, gets to pro circuit last year, is running up front. I think he won a heat race at A1, looking strong, then has that brutal practice crash, nerve damage and issues. And it was really a flyer by Club MX to say, hey, let's take a chance on this guy. I thought it was a good move just because of the potential and the talent he had demonstrated. But at the same time, coming back from such a major injury, you didn't know how good it would work. But after a few races, they really got that handbrake perfected. And I know that everybody's probably tired of hearing about the handbrake. I know Mike Pinacci in the press conference at Charlotte, he's like, guys, he's like, if we ask Max a question, can we please not talk about the handbrake because it's been used and so much. But
It's still pretty.
I
It's
mean,
just so cool.
for the team to innovate like that and help him really get back to that point. I mean, you look on paper and some of the results, he's been a really solid like 8 to 10 level guy for most of the year, but he got his first Supercross podium in Pittsburgh, made it healthy throughout the year, a huge building block. And for the Club MX team, a team that of course is right there fighting with all the factory guys and the teams with a little bit more resources. After Marchbanks left, you had Shock step up, but you didn't have that other guy to really go out there and fight with the factory programs. And then Max goes out, like I said, podium in Pittsburgh, a lot of top tens this year, a lot of really solid, really strong results. And for that organization to have somebody at that level, that's what they want and they need from one of their top level guys. And it was overall a great season. It's a bummer to see it end the way it did, but best wishes to Max. And I'm sure he has a lot to be proud of from the 2025 season, going from all the injuries, all the struggles last year to out there fighting and securing a top 10 seed for the playoffs.
Yeah, for real. Really overcame a lot, and I agree with the chat. The handbrake is pretty badass. I think what he does is it's pretty cool. But aside from that, that was just 250 qualifying. So we haven't even gotten to the race yet, and obviously we know the race is it's got some a lot happened.
Fireworks.
It's got some fireworks. But you know what? Before we jump into that, let's hit the SMX next real quick. Oh, I think we might have lost Trey just for a second. He just popped up or popped away. So let me see if I can get him back in real quick on the collab cam. There he is.
Are we good?
Yeah, we're good. Looks like he
All right. Yeah, I disappeared for a second. I
just
don't
for
know
a
what
second.
happened.
But yeah,
Lovely technology, folks.
it's going smooth. We're still learning this program. We are trying to do it a little different with the streaming software, so we can have like this interactive background, look at footage, go back to our site. We run motocross.com, Transworld Motocross. So we got some articles here written by Trey himself that we're kind of jumping into. But yeah, they did a makeup moto. So SMX next, obviously with the weather in Charlotte, that race was canceled. Those guys pretty much got all the way up to their moto, and that's when the weather came in. So they ended up getting all ready, canceled. We covered that in the last episode. But now we made it to this one. I was there actually for Friday. I was a little late, so I didn't get trackside because I missed the media meeting in the morning. But don't miss your meeting. But I shot from the stands, which is actually pretty cool because, like I said, with the stands being pulled back like that, you're a bit higher up in the air, so they kind of jump up into you, and it's kind of a cool view. Watched the Friday moto. It was a good moto. Keda Minier took that win. He was excited. Did they air? They didn't air Fridays, right? You had to watch it. You watched it though.
There is a video on YouTube from the official like Super Motocross broadcast team, but no, it was not on Peacock. I believe they did show a few highlights before they really got into action. But I mean, if you haven't watched it, it's a pretty dominant performance from Menier. As I mentioned in the article, Vincent Way pulls the whole shot, but probably 3, 4 corners in, he goes down, tucks the front,
Yep.
and then Menier just never looked back, built a strong gap. It was really that second through fourth range that had the battle. You had Menier's teammate Carson Wood on the Star Yamaha. You had Tiger Wood, who is completely unrelated, also from Australia, and then Diesel Thomas as well. The 2 through 4 fight was really solid, but out front, Menier was just cruising and he got the job done. Great performance from him.
Yep. No, it was. I mean, they're ripping. Honestly, these kids are. Some of them, you just look at them, you're like, yeah, you could qualify, I guess. Just give it a try. But it's a cool experience. Like I feel like I remember when they first started doing the Supercross Futures back in the day. Like it would be on a totally different day, a totally tame
Yeah,
track.
Sundays.
Yeah, and they would tame it down and everything. But now they're just out there in front of the crowd. Okay, so obviously on Saturday it becomes like a bit of a halftime show between the motos, and they went out. Same thing, another good performance. I saw Carson Wood went down pretty hard, and he was actually frustrated for a little bit. I was watching him for almost like 2 laps, just trying to get his bike started, and I think the whole shot was stuck down too, so it was just
Mm.
squatted down, and I don't think they could start it. So I ended up filming him for a little bit, then I kind of walked away and went back around the track before I saw him coming back around. So he did get back on the bike, but he was just a couple laps down, cruising around. But man, you could see the frustration, especially for these guys. They don't really have a lot of chances to go out there and to be out there and get this experience alone is worth a lot. So it's important for them to get out
Plus,
there.
with the championship format for this one, I mean, I know it's only 2 races, but Carson was second place. I mean, he was in really good shape going into the double points race, and then to immediately have it gone 20 feet into the race,
Yeah.
I'm sure he had to be absolutely livid. He didn't have a chance to really get up there and fight with Caden or Cade Johnson or some of the other guys that tried to compete for the championship.
Yeah. And Vincent Way, too, in that first moto on Friday, like you were saying. Same thing when I'm down there. It's kind of one of those things when you're filming it or you're shooting down there, you miss like a lot of stuff. You don't know what's going on. Like I was filming him and I was excited because I think a lot of eyes are on him. And then he was just nowhere to be seen. So he got stuck, and then I seen him come around last, and I kind of miss those things. So it's cool that kind of have a couple different perspectives on this as we go over it. But it ended up, what did we finish? Who got that last one again? It was
Malinowski,
Malinowski. That's right. It was the Club MX.
great performance for him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's been all year, he's had some really fast times and he's had some moments of brilliance, and then sometimes the results aren't really what they should be or what you would necessarily expect out of a Club MX guy. Birmingham, he had a chance to win, but that was the crazy race earlier in the year where like 3 or 4 different guys had the lead and then they all went down, and Enzo Timmerman ended up getting the victory. The kind of redemption, I'm sure, for him to really go through that and to be able to win, and great for the Club MX team as well. Obviously, they had success in the Supercross portion of the series. Alex Fedortsov, of course, won at Pittsburgh when he was with the team. And then to end the year with Ryder getting his first win and performing well was awesome. And for Menier to win the championship, I mean, I thought going into this, and I mentioned that recording my podcast today, I'm like, I went to Charlotte and I was like looking around at the track in the press box, and I'm like, this is a Caden Menier track. I think he can win. And then just looking at social media clips like from Transworld Motocross or from other outlets, and just looking at the track Supercross level, he's raced some Aussie Supercross before, raced a little bit of World Supercross last year. I'm like, this is also a Caden Menier track. So I had him pretty high on my list of favorites, and to see him go 1-2 in the races is really no surprise to me. Obviously, he got to compete in a couple nationals as well outdoors before a little bit of a thumb injury, but I think the future's bright for him. Another Aussie kid, and I'm sure a lot of people are going, "Oh, great, more Aussie kids." But he looks very strong. Like I said, the experience advantage probably helps him out in these situations. But a star Yamaha team, it's funny to watch the generations go down because, of course, Team Green back in the day was always a team to beat. and they were turning out guys like, oh, we have Ricky Carmichael. Oh, guess what? We have James Stewart too. Oh, we have this Ryan Villapoto kid. And then it kind of went to Geico Honda was like the team turning them out. And now, of course, the last several years, just it seems like every time Star turns an amateur or two out, they get 3 or 4 more, and pretty soon there's just going to be like 20 Star Yamaha kids in SMX next. But I think Meneer's got a bright future in front of him, and I'm excited to see what he can do in the future for sure.
Yeah, it always comes to mind that Star Yamaha meme of the semi truck loaded up. It says heading to A1. It's got like 100 bikes stacked, photoshopped all shitty in there. But yeah, so Moto 250s. Yeah, I mean, let's get into it. It was, well, the first Moto was pretty uneventful. It was just normal.
Yeah,
Pretty standard performance, I guess you could say, Hayden. Great, first whole shot and just took the lead, kept it. I think he put it down once. I didn't see that, but I saw it on the
yeah,
highlights.
it was just very small tip over. I think he only lost a couple seconds to Joe, and it kind of makes me think of an old wrestling meme, like when John Cena was at his peak, there was always this thing. It was like Cena wins, LOL, and it's kind of like Deegan wins, LOL, this year. Honestly, if he gets out front, it's like, oh, this is over. Like Hayden's just going to cruise out there, and I mean, he did have a little bit of adversity going down, but he had a nice gap build up. It didn't really affect him any. It was just a very small tip over. Picked it right back up and took off again. Another win for him. Looked unstoppable. Joe was in second comfortably. He was just kind of cruising, and then you had the Pro Circuit Kawasaki Brigade kind of behind them. Seth was in third. Ty Masterpool had a really great weekend. He impressed me a lot.
Me
Of
too.
course, he doesn't have as much Supercross experience or Supercross results compared to what he's done outdoors. But for him to be fourth in that first moto and really competing with some of the guys, and of course, he has a little bit lesser of a gate pick since he has to fight his way through the wild card race. I thought it was a really impressive performance from Ty this weekend.
Yeah, he's got to do those. I'm sure most of us know by now, people watching how the unseated and seated works for SMX, but the 250, like Ty Masterpool, he's got to do this each weekend. He's got to basically
Hmm.
qualify. But they're taking like 7 out of the 9 riders or something, right? There's like only
Yeah,
a
it was
hand.
9 out of 11 guys this week. Of course,
Yeah,
Voland and Forkner opened up a couple spots,
yeah.
but yeah, it's like just don't be last,
It was
basically.
just the last
Don't
two,
be
I think.
last, and you're in there.
I think it was the last
Yeah,
two. It was like if you're the last two in the LCQ or the wild card race, then you're not making it. So they only didn't take two,
yeah.
which is almost kind of funny to watch when it was getting to the last lap. So I was watching those last three guys, and you can tell them starting to panic and they're getting a little sloppy and trying to hold it off. So
Kind of like last year at Vegas too. I think there was only one guy that missed out, and you could see him like, I don't want to be the
you
one
know,
out of the
yeah,
race. Let me in.
yeah, it's kind of funny, but so his the likelihood of him getting in is pretty high. He'd have to make a pretty big mistake to
Yeah,
to not make it into Vegas. So he should do well, considering his results that he's been doing. Obviously, we're getting the meat potatoes now. Moto 2. This was a big one. Again, definitely interested to hear your perspective too, because for us on the floor, I just remember all the camera guys, like we were just looking at each other. I was like, mouths dropped wide open, and we were like, oh boy, like this is about to get crazy. I did think that Hayden would have a stronger comeback, but riding without that front brake obviously is gonna do that. So, what happened? What did we see? Levi, he came in, took out Hayden. Pretty standard, but aggressive, but pretty standard at the same time. I feel like all things considered, we've heard I think pretty much all the sides of it now, just about. I don't think we've really had a statement from Hayden, but we've heard from Levi. I've seen Duff was on, and Levi was on Pulp, and then um, I've heard a few different opinions on it, but I think it's hard. Let's talk about it for sure. Man, what do you think actually, Trey? Like, what did you see on the
Um,
TV?
well, I heard some people saying that maybe Deegan ran Levi a little wide in one of the first couple corners, and it's the start of a race. No harm, no foul. I mean, I don't. It's strange to see. I don't think I've ever seen Levi ever try to attempt to make any type of move like that on somebody. And I think
Yeah,
the inexperience showed because he's like bouncing over ruts and he goes down too,
yeah,
taking out
yeah.
Hayden.
And that's what Mitch said
And
too. He was like, "Well." I want him to do that. That's what, exactly. Mitch was like, I want him to do that, but I, would have liked him to not crash
Yeah.
while doing it.
I always think of Landon Castle, who used to race in NASCAR. He always said, or he said on the radio one time when another driver tried to wreck him, he said, "No, rule number one of stock car racing is if you're going to take somebody out, don't wreck yourself," and something like that. And I feel like that could be applied to motocross racing as well. And unfortunately, Levi went down. But from my perspective, honestly, it was a big surprise because no one has ever really challenged Hayden like this. Of course,
Yeah.
Deegan talks a lot. He's tried to antagonize some of the riders before,
Well,
and
Levi
Joe
too.
has obviously kept it very respectful. I will,
Yeah.
yes, Levi for sure. I'll get to that in a
Yeah. Yeah.
second. But I mean, I think of Joe very respectful. He always tries to keep it clean. Of course, you had the Juju stuff in Seattle, and he's like, oh, he's got something coming for him in Philly. But Deegan was up front, and Juju was like 12th, so that never materialized. Even Cole Davies, I mean, it didn't seem like a rivalry at all. And then all of a sudden, Cole was flying over a berm in
Yeah.
Denver, and D is like, yeah, it's for the championship, whatever. But I mean, it was interesting to see that I guess somebody's been finally keeping receipts. And of course, Hayden always is a very I take things personally guy. And apparently, Levi has been taking this. I think of Paula last year when they were battling for the win, and Levi went around the outside one of the corners, somehow got one of the track markers, one of the, well, they were at the time a Cherby sponsor, the little yellow pole things that were in the ground. He got it stuck in his boot, ended up
Oh,
losing
yep.
a bunch of seconds late in the moto to Hayden. And of course, Hayden gets on the podium. He's like, well, I expected him to fade. I knew he wasn't going to last, whatever, whatever.
Yeah.
Even though the guy's got a piece of the track
Yeah. The
sticking
pull
out of
over.
his
Yeah.
boot and can't fully ride the motorcycle to his level. And then you couple that with the beginning of Supercross. It was supposed to be Deegan versus Kitchen on the West Coast. Levi gets sick. They make the executive decision in the PC camp. They're like, hey, let's move to the East, make sure he's fully ready to go. And then there was some, oh, he's scared talk and all of that stuff. So maybe Levi finally kept the receipts and he's like, you know what, I'm going to pay him back sometime down the road and just put that behind him. And I guess he struck while the iron was hot and took him down. Of course, like you mentioned, the comeback. I mean, I think we all expected Deegan to move through the pack, but when you don't have a front brake lever, you have to basically relearn everything you're doing. You're so used to having those brakes, to having that
Yeah.
mechanism to slow you down. And he had to completely not only relearn how to ride the bike, I'm sure, but relearn how to ride the track. Like, what do I have to do in this corner? How much rear brake do I have to give in this section? And I think it was telling on the broadcast when it showed him a few minutes left, and it took him probably 2 laps to get around Lux Turner. You could tell
Yep.
definitely that he was struggling a little bit. You could tell he wanted to fight. He wanted to be up in that front mix, but he just was a little bit more timid than usual because he's usually wide open on the gas. And it's a good thing it was in a dome, because if it was an outdoor track in St. Louis, you could probably hear him clear in Kansas City with the way those star bikes rev. But definitely interesting for sure. I did not expect Levi to do that just randomly, it seemed like. Of course,
Yeah.
like I mentioned, there's been some things in the past that he's probably stored in the back of his mind and been like, one of these times, if he does something to me, and if Deegan did run him wide in one of the first couple corners, I personally didn't see it, but maybe he was like, you know what? He's like, nobody's done it yet. And Levi was finally the one. And I thought it was hilarious. I knew instantly when it happened that social media would be so funny
Yeah. Yeah.
because, of course, Deegan has legions of fans, and they're all going scorched earth on Levi. How could he do that? He's a loser. He's a moron. And then there's the other people who are the Deegan fans who just want chaos, and they're like, that was pretty funny. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
mean, it's so funny to look at the divide and to see everything. But I'm glad we had something like that for talking points, because some of
Yep.
the racing was very just round and around slot car racing, and to
Yep.
have that collision made for an interesting talking point. And I'm interested. I know Deegan still has a shot at the championship. Of course, he's 10 back from Shimoda, but you have the triple points this weekend. Conceivably, if Deegan wins and Shimoda finishes third overall, that's the championship for Deegan still. But at this point, is Deegan going to be focused 100% on the title? Is he going to go out to Vegas and be like, you know what, I'm going to smear the 47. I'm going to take him down and make him regret it? And is he going to go into Vegas with revenge on his mind, or a championship, or both? And it's going to be an interesting dynamic to see how he really uses his mindset because, of course, mentally he's so strong usually. But now that he's been taken down, that's something we've never seen from Hayden. It's going to be like, is he going to go out for the kill or is he going to think big picture and go for another championship?
I almost say both, but I definitely think he's going to go for the kill. It's just how smart is he going to be about it, or where is he going to do it? So when it comes going
Yeah.
back to Levi though, like he saw the opportunity, he took it. I mean, it was right. It was like the perfect setup for it. He left it wide open for him, and it's not for nothing. At first, my original reaction to it on the floor was, well, that was unnecessary. I was like, that came out of nowhere. It was, like, what the hell is that? But it isn't for nothing. This is for a championship. They are going for these double points. These things do matter. It's money on the line. So I think in Levi's mind, I don't know if it was receipts and that's why he wanted to do it, or if it was just, I'm gonna do this to whoever this is. I don't care if it's Hayden or not. I just don't think he executed clean enough to obviously
No,
benefit from it.
he didn't get
So
the benefits of it for
let's
sure.
hope he could learn from it. And I would say not to learn to not do it, but learn to do it better.
Yeah.
you know?
I thought it was funny when you started this live stream and you're mentioning arena cross. I'm like, well, boy, we had some arena cross style passing this weekend.
Yeah, that's
That's an
for
arena
sure.
cross pass right there. If you stick your front wheel in
Yep.
on somebody and take them down, but
Arena crash vibes for
definitely a
sure.
very interesting thing. And I mean, you go back to previous results. Levi went 1-1-1 in the Triple Crown last year in St. Louis, so he had success in that building. And maybe he was like, you know what, this is a chance for me to put Deegan behind everybody. And of course, Deegan usually, if he gets out front, he's gone. There's usually nobody stopping him once he gets to that front level. Maybe that was another thought as well. It's like maybe I can take him down, maybe get him in the back, force him to play catch up and try to steal some points from him or whatever. Obviously, he ended up going down himself and not being able to reap the benefits, but there are a few guys up front. Joe, obviously, and I know that's probably our next topic, but Ricky Carmichael always says you win the championships on your worst days. He says that every season. And if Joe Shimoda's worst day is being sick and still winning the overall,
Yeah,
that's a
that's
pretty great
crazy.
way to help things out. And I mean, I look at Charlotte too. We mentioned last week, like him going down early. He could have won the moto, but he still put on incredible damage control and went from 12th to 4th, of course, promoted to 3rd with the penalty. I mean, if he wins the championships, two incredibly clutch performances from Joe right in a row. You have the adversity of going down early in Charlotte and then riding through the sickness. He just got in second both motos, kind of cruised. Tom was out front, didn't have to worry about it. Seth wasn't really super close, so he didn't have a bunch of pressure from behind him. He just settled in. And then on the broadcast, you watch him cross the finish line, and it just like as soon as he crossed the finish line, just goes limp, and it's just like, that's over with. Thank goodness, because man, he definitely looked spent, and you could tell he was
Yeah.
tired
And was that the first
after the
time
races.
that he told everyone that he was sick? Or did
Yeah, I
we
didn't
didn't
know
know,
he was
right?
sick
Yeah.
until they mentioned it on the broadcast. Honestly,
Yeah, when I heard
like
it,
they
I
were
was kind of
talking.
like, he was sick? Like, oh, I didn't even.
Yeah, the first moto, they're like, Joe won't be doing a podium interview. He's going back to the truck
Hmm.
feeling under the weather or something. I'm like, I haven't heard anything during the week about Joe being sick, so I was kind of a little skeptical of it. And I didn't see Joe as the type of guy to refuse an interview. And then you see him finish the second moto, and it's like his entire body just visually exhaled. And he's like, okay, I got my fitness done, and now I can just relax. And you could tell on the podium he was spent, but he was able to keep things in check and to put the time in, to put the work in during the motos and stay as strong as he was. It was sick.
Yeah, it was impressive. It was good to see Nate Thrasher out there doing good. He had the
Yeah.
6'4", getting that podium. Pretty impressive. I'm sure he's happy about that. Again, Time Master Pool. Viao, kind of a performance I guess we would see, from him. It's like when he gets that win, it's the other motos usually not so great.
Yeah, definitely interesting to see. I know at the end of motocross, he was complaining about some kind of shock
Shock.
issue,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
was thinking that immediately in the first moto because he was up to 4th. He was there behind Seth, I believe, and then he just started dropping and dropping. I'm like, well, is this a shock issue? Is
But I
this
mean, that's what shocks
what
do,
could it be?
right? Like, I mean, that's always what they do. They're gonna fade on every bike with the heat and everything, right? Like they're gonna change. So I'm
Yeah,
sure
it's
these guys are professionals. They feel it. We don't feel that stuff. They feel that's
yeah,
literally their
and of
job. But
course with all the rumors, for Tom's future next season, could he also be like in the back of his mind, like, just get through this healthy?
Yeah,
Like, I could potentially be heading back to Europe and have a nice Honda contract waiting for me, allegedly.
yeah,
But at the same time, he goes out second moto, rips the whole shot, and it's like the Tom Vial we saw during Supercross, where he was really consistent running up front. Of course, two-time 250 East Supercross champion, won two of them in a row. So it's like some of these guys you question. It's like, how do these guys not completely put it together all the time? You kind of wonder how they are a little bit mentally, because you see them when they're on their game and they're elite and they're up there winning races and scoring podiums all the time. And then sometimes it's like they just completely flip the switch and it's like, well, I'm just going to go through the motions or whatever. It's very interesting to see from the point of view at home, because I don't know what the talk is in the KTM camp. I don't know what Tom's feeling on that bike, how uncomfortable he is, or what happens. But
but then he
if
goes and
he goes
wins.
out and wins the
Yeah,
second moto, it's telling me that he can't be fully uncomfortable with what
right.
he's experiencing.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's doing it, and then Hayden's still kind of finishing 14th. I think, like I said, that brake lever and everything, kind of seeing him battle people that we're not used to seeing him battle. People he used to ride with back in the day, even back when they were younger. But Dax, I thought that was cool seeing him. He did good on the wild card race. He won the wild card race, and then
Hmm.
stayed consistent in the main. It's good to see. Who else we need to cover in 250s? I think that really just about it. I think there's a lot of different views, and like I said, I did watch the pulp earlier with Levi on there, kind of explaining his view, and I don't know. I kind of agree almost with everyone when you hear their different opinions. Like I'm like, yeah, I get that, and then okay, yeah, I can get that too. It's the money's on the line, so it's all a little bit different.
Yeah.
But let us jump into 450s. Um, Wait, how are we looking on points? What we did not cover, actually, we forgot is
Plus 10 for Joe
yeah.
Shimoda heading
So
into Vegas.
that's right. So Joe's going ahead. So he just needs to be second place if Hayden
Yeah.
wins. So I wonder what's that going to mean? Like what if we see Hayden and Joe literally running 1-2? What's the
The
strategic? What's the
chaos theory.
strategic move there?
Seth
Do you
Hammock
slow down and try to
continues
get next to him and
bunching Eli Tomac style.
yeah, like the
But
keep
that's the
close.
thing I want to watch out for is, like, if those two have shenanigans, and of course Deegan might have kitchen shenanigans to begin with. Seth Hamaker is only 14 back. If Seth wins, Hayden's second, and Joe's third, Seth wins the
Yeah, right. You can just
championship.
capitalize on
So
them.
there's a potential for a guy to sneak in there. And of course, Seth's had a great year. Almost won the 250 East Supercross title. Looked really good at Charlotte. Looked really solid at St. Louis too. He's got a lot of confidence. I mean, it's not out of the question. And I think, once again, referencing Vegas 2017, Adam Cianciarulo went into that race like 15 behind. I don't remember the exact total, but he ended up walking away that night only 1 or 2 points back. And everybody, all the focus going into it was Smith versus Osborne versus Savachi. And a guy they weren't even talking about almost won the championship. And right now, I feel like a lot of people, Shimoda versus Deegan, because that's been the battle all summer. But Seth's sitting right back there, and he's probably like, you know what? Count me out. Go ahead. Because there's a potential. I mean, it's probably a slim chance knowing how good Deegan and Shimoda have been performing, but there's a potential that he could potentially steal the championship.
Yeah,
It would
because
be a huge headline. And for the Pro Circuit Kawasaki team, they've not won a championship since 2019. That would be huge for that organization to have
this
some positive momentum finally on their side.
yeah, because I mean, realistically, this race might come down to another move, just like we saw with Kitchen and Deegan. This might come down to an expected takeout of some sort. It's a lot on the line, and it's the last race before our actual break. So this is the
Hmm.
race that you could hang it all out there, that you would expect to see something like that. But that's going to make a risk for them both to go down, just like we saw. That could literally, the same thing could play out
Yeah.
between Joe and Hayden, and Seth could be right there to capitalize on it if he's consistent and just right there. So it's hard to speculate. It's hard to guess. Makes for some interesting racing. I think that's the biggest wow factor for us when we were there. Like that, like I said, when we saw Hayden was down, we all looked at each other and we were like, okay, this just got really interesting. This is gonna be crazy. And I was still expecting, like I said, Hayden. I was like, he's about to do a crazy comeback or something, but then he just kind of rolled around, but it made sense. So again, when he got off the bike, he was pretty heated. I was right there for that too. I saw the shout out to Duff and just told him, hey, we'll get him on the track. We'll get him next weekend. Keep your cool. There was no fighting in the pits. Sounds like people ran out there to check. It was quiet. So nothing crazy happened. We're just going to probably see it on the track. And like your question earlier, are we going
I
to...
think that shows the veteran expertise of Duff to be
Yeah,
able to be
true.
in that situation, and he's been in the paddock for a long time, and for him to talk down, especially someone as fiery as Hayden, and just be like, hey man, you know what, we'll have another opportunity to.
Oh, let me get Trey back in here. So we dropped him again. Read some chats while we're at it. Levi's gonna take out Seth because he could be a problem. Yeah, it's kind of hard to have teammates when money's on the line, right? Kind of anyone's game at this point. Still see some comments about the weather last weekend. That was definitely a bummer. We were bummed too, having the just cancel, like that was end of a day, but it was still a pretty long day. Like I said, my family got to enjoy the VIP experience that day, so it was a little extra long for me, but running around with them, it still felt like a pretty full day, but still a bummer. Can't really control those things. So let's see if we can get Trey back in here. I'm not really sure what happened to him. Shoot him a text real quick. Oh, here he is. Oh, he's back. We're
Black screen
back
again. This time I had to physically leave. It wasn't
really.
rejoining or whatever. And it's funny because I just rejoined and one bar of my Wi-Fi went down, but I was at full bars and looking good, and then all of a sudden it just stops. I don't know, man.
We're still learning this program, guys. Like I said, this is a different. We're not like pre-recording this. This is live. We're just trying to hang out and chat with you guys and trying this streaming style of an approach with it. So they're gonna have little hiccups here and there.
T-Mobile Wi-Fi has also had some issues the last couple of days. I mean, we're getting back to stability, but Saturday night at like 11 p.m. just out, and it was out for a good solid 12 hours or so. So not probably working at 100% strength still.
Make sure you guys check out motocross.com for our articles, and we also have our videos like right here. You can check out our race highlights that I film. These are just kind of raw, sometimes with music. We do like the full recap. I usually do the first moto raw, so you guys can watch from my perspective everything from the night. And then in the second moto, I usually put a little bit of music to it and try to have a little fun with the edit and some slow-mo clips and whatnot. It's good stuff. But yeah, check out our recaps on the TW Motocross YouTube channel that you guys are watching this on right now, and on the website
After
motocross.com.
the video, don't leave us.
Yeah, after the video, after we finish the stream, go check out. You'll get to see a lot of what we're talking about. I got both of the SMX races on there, the 250 and the 450. They're all live now, as you can see scrolling behind us here on the website.
Tell your friends to spread the word about what we're doing, whether it's the website, social media, YouTube, or live streams. Hopefully all of the above. Tell a friend that Transworld Motocross is back, and we're trying to climb that mountain. And once again, thank you everybody for joining us. I personally can't see this chat when we're doing the stream, but for all of you spending your Tuesday afternoon, I guess, if you're on the West Coast with us, thanks for tuning in. And now 450 talk. Hunter Lawrence, the king around too.
Yes, sir. It was awesome to see Hunter up top. Well-earned win. Riding great. I think, honestly, it's one of those things where there's kind of a bit of an overshadowing happening in this class with the younger brother, Jet. It's just a phenom. And it's kind of one of those things that's it's cool to see. I'm happy to say that, hey, I was there. I'm there. I get to see Jet do what he does, and Hayden for that instance. In these two classes, they really dominate the space so much that if you take them out of the picture, that second through fourth, fifth place in each class is just duking it out each weekend, pretty much. It's like some really good racing. If that, and they're basically without those guys, they'd be battling for the win, and it would just be
Mm,
would be mind blown every week and going, oh my god, this is getting just crazy. But kind of get used to the show of these guys up front, and someone like Hunter just gets the win, but you don't really. It's just he's just a little overshadowed, like we said. This is his actual third year in a row winning the second playoff of the SMX, and now 6 points separate him and
yep.
Jet, and with Jet still being in the lead.
Going to be another winner take all round, it looks like, the way those two are performing. And it's going to be interesting to see if Hunter can get some redemption last year after they had the tiebreaker or whatever. Hunter, to try to pull one on little bro. I'm sure he's going to be really, really motivated this weekend to try to go out there and beat him straight up at Vegas. And honestly, one thing I'd take away from this weekend in Hunter's performance as well, we've watched his performances outdoors, and none of that's surprising, but he didn't really get to build and capitalize on the momentum he had from last year's outdoors and Supercross. He got hurt round 5, I think it was, in Tampa. He didn't have a chance to really show that he's improved a ton indoors. And to have an indoor Supercross, a more Supercrossy track, I should say, and to go out there, flat out dominate the first moto, and then second moto, of course, he was in third, and he was starting to reel Tomac and Jet in a little bit later. It was a great showing from him, and it's kind of funny to see how, like you mentioned too, Jet's talent is unreal. It's pretty much well known that he's a generational talent at this point, but you go back in the day, I remember watching Hunter in the MXGPs, and it's like he's going to come to America. Like, yeah, I think he could win some and be solid, but I don't think anybody would have necessarily had Hunter at this level either. And I think iron sharpens iron in this case. And you look at what Jet has done, and that's made Hunter better. You look at what he's doing; he's going out there fighting for wins, fighting for podiums every week, and it's really cool to see because we've never seen a brother duo in the sport. I mean, years past, I know they had the Jones brothers way back in the day, if you want to look at them. But in terms of the modern era, two brothers dominating the sport simultaneously, it's unheard of. And for them to be 1-2 in the 450 class practically every weekend is really crazy to see.
Yeah, it is. I think the dynamic there between the brothers is really good. Like, I don't really expect to see anything dirty between them on the track. I think it'd be surprising to see them take each other out in a harsh way. I think in a normal way is probably expected, but like it'd be interesting to see if Hunter's up front and Jet feels like he needs to get by him this next weekend and what's going to happen. But I do think behind the scenes that they're a good team. I think between them and their family and the way they're doing everything and how they got here, that's probably worth more than all the money. Like to have your family like that together
Yeah.
seems really cool. And let's be real. I mean, they're doing fine. There's a difference, I'm sure, and with Jet being the champion he is, but we see Hunter stories. He's playing with Ferraris and building cars and having fun. I mean, that's probably what I'd be doing too if I was cruising around, cruising around. Seems like you're doing fine, but stoked for them, and I'm excited to see it come down the next weekend with them. And like I said, I think that's going to be something to look at is like how they're going to race each other. Are we going to see them play nice, or is it going to be, hey, bro, we'll chat after that. You're not my brother doing this race. We're going full send.
I think it's going to be nice, but if potentially one of them is in striking distance in the last corner of the last lap, I think they're sawing off the front wheel, honestly. If
Yeah.
it's that close at the end, if it's a couple seconds, they're not going to try anything crazy and just be like, oh, brother beat me. But if it comes down to the last quarter, they're right there together. You better protect the inside.
It's winner take all, right? Like Hunter wins, he wins.
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically. Yeah,
So
6 points. I mean, it's a 9 point gap from first to second this weekend with double or triple points. So you're basically going to have to win this. And even though they're performing well, I just don't, right now, I don't see Tomac or Chase or Kenny or somebody else going up there and spoiling the fun with those two riding at the level they're at.
yeah, they're kind of in their own race. I agree with Fred Kid here in the chat. He's saying that if we're gonna see the brothers rough each other up, this last round is about as tense as it's gonna be between them. I definitely agree
Yeah.
with that. And Got some few comments in here. Appreciate the love. You said the videos have been great. We've been putting out. Appreciate that. Definitely want to do more myself. I feel like we're kind of a one man band out there with the video, running around trying to do everything I can to not only run this whole brand, but also put out this content for you guys. Um, Obviously, like you're seeing, we don't have sponsors, no commercial breaks right now. Not this. This is the test right now. What we're doing with the stream these few weekends to get ready for Supercross to make this a regular thing. Um, so we're doing what we can. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. If you just give it a like, comment like you guys are, it helps with our engagement. We love talking to you guys. See, Dog Lover 136 says, "What's up?" I feel like I actually recognized that guy's tag in a few videos back in the day. I'm pretty sure that guy.
Snowboard.
Well, I feel like this guy uh, commented back in the day on the Deegan videos. I feel like that's where I actually recognize him following my work from back then when I worked with them for that decade. So it's kind of funny. It's cool to see people kind of following along. But yeah, appreciate you guys. But yeah, it's the 450 race. Not too much action. I think probably for watching on TV and on the floor, it was kind of
Yeah.
it was exciting when Jet had that. He had a pretty bad start in the first moto, right? He was like
Oh yeah.
21st, and that was I didn't know what happened. I was like, you just go down, you just got pinched off, like just I was
Yeah,
just
just
like,
terrible
yeah,
start.
just a bad start, and I was just when those things
And he
happen, it
was
throws.
mowing through the pack. I mean, he blew
Yeah,
by Chase like he was standing still, and it's just like, wow, you know.
yeah,
And then if every lap of the 450 motos was like the last lap in each moto, it would have been an all-time night of racing. Because with the first moto, you had Jet latching on to Tomac and Kenny and trying to steal a spot, and then the second moto with Jet running into the lap traffic and Tomac and Hunter started catching. Those last laps were really intense and really fun to watch, but the rest of the races, for the most part, like I mentioned with the 250 race, apart from Kitchen and Deegan, just slot car racing, it seemed like. And I was disappointed. I saw the track and I'm like, oh, this track has potential. And then just to see just one guy, next guy,
yeah.
another guy, it's just like, oh man,
I was happy to see the guys that were there, like the Tomac and Rocks, and it's so cool to have these
Yeah,
legends still going for the podium.
Kenny with his 2020 St. Louis gear as well. The kit
Yeah.
reminiscing because, of course, St. Louis 2020 was the first race he won post arm injury. So
Oh
to see
yeah,
him wear
yeah.
that gear was really sick to see. I mean, obviously, a few different sponsors now. He's on yellow instead of red, but
Hmm.
cool to see Kenny battling up front. It's always great
Good
to see
catch.
Kenny, and I'm a little biased, but watching Roxon, and he seems to be, of course, Tomac, is one of the fan favorites as well. When AP's not out there, I feel like Tomac's kind of the people's champion now, but a lot of people love Kenny too. They
Yep.
love seeing that Suzuki up there and seeing him really compete. They love the veteran guys, and
The vibes he
it's funny how
brings. He's just
everybody.
they
Yeah.
love the fun. He goes out there and he has fun.
Hmm.
I love when he was testing all the bikes that during those couple of
Oh
weeks.
man,
That was so cool.
that was so much
I
fun.
was like, what?
Where's he going?
Yeah, I was like, what flavors are gonna be on this today?
That was like the dream for him too. He's like, I get to literally test everything. Like he was riding a Honda, he had a Kawasaki built for him, he was on a Yamaha,
Yeah,
he's testing everything out.
yeah, that
It
was
was a
cool.
lot of fun and speculation. We need more riders to do that.
That's what I
Like
was
we just
thinking.
need some one of these other guys to come out here and just, you know what, I'm looking for a ride. I want to test
Just
everything.
swap it out
He just shows
mid-season.
up to the practice track on a Ducati one day. He's just like, let's try this thing out. Let's see how it rips.
Just some.
I want a gas next week. I'll do a Husqvarna after that.
We just need
Maybe
a
we'll try a
good
Kawasaki.
privateer that's like factory, almost factory level, but his family owns the dealership and he can just drive, get any bike and he just shows up and he's on a different one each week and
That'd be hilarious.
that would be sick.
11 bikes, 11 races, or something like that.
Yeah, just going for the two-stroke. Yeah, Moto 2 Jet did good at the got a good start that time. But
Jen Lawrence winning. What a
yeah,
surprise.
yeah, that was kind of felt a little bit more normal of a race, but it's just really comes down to the points at the end. I still think he wasn't too far away, right? Didn't he? How far was second place from him when he for Tomac? How far was he on the second moto? He wasn't too far behind him.
I mean, he had probably a 2 or 3 second gap, but like I mentioned, I mean, at the end of the race, you had Jet struggling a little bit to get around some of the lap traffic, and Tomac
Hmm.
really reeled it in. It was
That's
like
right. It was.
down to
It
a
did
second
get
or
kind
one
of
and a half.
exciting.
And
Yeah.
of course, Hunter was right on the rear wheel of Tomac too. So Tomac was kind of in that unenviable spot of, I really want to get to challenge Jet, but there's somebody breathing down my neck as well. So I gotta kind of have to defend and all of that. So it was a really tough spot for him to be in, but definitely a fun ending. And that photo finish in Moto 1 where
That's what it
Tomac
was.
just
Yeah.
barely beat Jet,
That
that
was cool.
that could prevent if you think if Hunter wins the title, that photo finish, losing by like half a wheel or whatever Jet lost by, could
Cost
cost
him.
him $1 million.
Yep.
It's insane.
It's crazy, those little things. And he knows that. That's why he's doing that. That's why he's
Oh
going
yeah.
going
I
for
mean, he
that
was on a
move.
mission that first moto.
Hmm.
Just after he got his groove down and passed the first few guys, he was motoring. Every time
Yeah.
they showed him on the
So
broadcast,
that
just
yeah, there was excitement in these motos, but it was just like bursts or at the end. It was
yeah.
just kind of like,
Just a
oh
few things here and
yeah,
there.
and
Yeah.
then otherwise it was
Throughout, it was just like
yeah, it was a
maybe
little
one of
bit
these.
a little lackluster, but here's your
They
podium.
can't all be bangers.
Hunter Lawrence, stoked for him. I'm really excited to see next weekend between the brothers. I think next weekend is going to be exciting. It's actually shaped up to be pretty exciting. It doesn't feel like I thought it was going to feel going into it. It doesn't feel like the Deegan and Lawrence show. It doesn't feel like there's a chance. We might not get the three-peat, you know?
So you're saying there's a
So you're
chance?
saying there's a chance. We might not get the three-peat because what? Here we are. It's just 6 points above Hunter
6 points.
Lawrence. Really, winner takes all between them. Something bad would have to happen for Eli to get that. I think,
That 4 through 8 range, though, I noticed that earlier today. Look at that range.
yeah, that's
There's
tight right
5
there.
guys there separated by 7 points.
That's
I
nuts.
mean, any of those guys could go up there, and
So we need
you
to
got to
keep we need to
figure
keep
like
an eye
every
on that.
position is going to be $5,000, $10,000 or so.
Yeah, yeah,
And I know these are factory level guys, but hey, man, if you could move up and gain an extra $20,000, that's going to be a sweet ending to your year, and you can go. I don't know what you can do with $20,000, but still something a little bit more positive to end the year with. And for a guy like Ken Roxon, if he can jump in the top 5, he can be like, "Hey, I ended the year on the top 5, end the year on a strong note," instead of saying like, "Oh, I'm 7th." Like, who cares about 7th? You know?
yeah. No, you're right. I'm actually definitely gonna be looking out for that next week. I'm gonna be watching those guys. They're probably because I guess like they were mentioning too, like they don't really think about it at these races. It's a lot harder to think while you're racing, like what each pass is worth. But next weekend is the weekend they're all gonna be doing math. They're all gonna be sitting there
Yeah.
going, okay, where am I at? You're gonna probably see a
I
lot of
gotta
them.
get this guy $5,000.
Yeah, you're gonna see a lot of them probably looking up at the scoreboard, like, okay, where am I at? How much is this path worth? This path's gonna be worth. So I'm definitely excited. I think we're gonna see some cool things next weekend. I think that's really all we got today, guys. Don't forget to check out the Arena Cross series. I'm gonna pull that up real quick. We are
Brazil
doing
Arena Cross
yep.
starting mid-October.
Just when we thought we were done. Just when we
Oh, we got plenty of racing. Come
yeah
on, man. We got World Supercross coming up,
yeah
Motocross of Nations, Partzilla Arena Cross, AMA Arena Cross. There's no off season,
yeah.
man.
No
There's
off
racing
season
all
for
the
us.
time.
We'll see how many shows we do. Like I said, the plan was to just do these live streams, these super motocross races, try to work out some of our little kinks, make sure it goes smooth. I'll re-say, go one more time. I did want it to be different. I wanted this show. It's not really a podcast. It's not really a radio show. This is a stream, and part of being in the stream is that it's live. We have, we want to do chat, interactive backgrounds, reacting to content, to videos, to the news breaks, and just kind of bring it to you guys that way. We'll try to get better at this. Myself, like I said, just kind of a more of a filmmaker coming into this position. I'm not really the talking and the stats guy, but I'm having a lot of fun doing this. That's why I got Trey here. He's a good talker and a good stats guy. He does some stuff on the side himself. But yeah,
I've always been a big talker.
yeah, Partzilla Arena Cross. We got some money. We got a schedule. It's presented by Transworld Motocross. We are a partner in this, so we're excited. We're going to be at quite a few of these races myself. Check out the dates, screenshot it. This is an East Coast AMA Arena Cross series. Oops, Sorry about that.
If you're a Southeastern fan, you don't get many races other than like Daytona every year. This could be a really great series for you to check out.
Hmm.
Indoor bar banging, arena cross, always a lot of fun to watch. I mean, you look at the schedule: Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, Louisiana, some places that
All really cool
either really
stadiums,
hotbeds or we don't
arenas.
go to all the time. I mean, even like South Carolina, you got some action for those fans up in there. Toledo, Ohio could be an interesting race.
We
A
have
snowy
pros.
round January.
We
So,
have some Club
yeah.
MX riders. We have Partzilla riders. I think Dirt Bike Depot riders. What the schedule actually lines up with a lot of the East Coast Supercross. That way, so these guys can kind of come in, get their feet wet, get some racing in, and then they jump right into the East Coast series. So we have a lot of good racing that's going to happen from those top guys that are some of the faster guys, or even some of the newer guys that are more going into the rookie seasons as well for Supercross. Another good way to get ready for that season, so you're just not jumping into it a little bit warmed up. But yeah, so this starts next month. It's going to be also broadcast on Fox Sports, FS1, FS2. Keep an eye out for it. Like I said, I'm going to be at quite a few of these myself, and they're all in really cool like basketball arenas and like hockey arenas with like like little mini jumbotrons and things like that. So it's actually really cool venues. Um, it's exciting. So definitely check that out. PartzillaArenaCross.com if you want to check it out, register, get some tickets, show up, come hang out with us, come say what's up. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Trey, where can we find you?
You can find me at TJ Steyer3 on Instagram. I'm of course posting articles, posting content on there and stuff. If you want to follow my X account, I'm at Steyer23, but honestly, I haven't been as active on there lately. Most of my stuff been on Instagram, but keep supporting us. If you support me, my podcast, The Steyer Sound, new episode dropping tomorrow. My episodes drop every Wednesday, so if you're inclined to check that out, of course, giving more of my thoughts on St. Louis Supercross. My co-host Jack Noel is with the Dirt Bike Depot WMR KTM team, so he's at the track pretty much every weekend. He's seeing what's going on as well and has his own perspective. And of course, he's friends with some of the guys competing out there on the track, so he has a little bit of inside scoop at times on certain things. And one guy that he has some time with, one of his buddies, is Levi Kitchen, so you get to hear some interesting tidbits about the whole Deegan Kitchen topic on episode 13. Like I said, dropping tomorrow. Don't have a set time. It's going to be out probably later in the afternoon, but if you guys want to come over and support my stuff as well and keep supporting the TWMX brand, that would be awesome. And once again, thanks for tuning into the stream and for spending your Tuesday evening with us.
Yep, and you can obviously keep checking out motocross.com. Trey's a big contributor there, one of my main writers. We're just getting started. We're growing the team, and yeah, check me out. Gavin Ayala is my Instagram, GavenAyala. The Transworld Motocross, TWMX.com. For the Instagram is at TWMXDOTCOM. That old website actually will forward you to motocross.com if you go to the website. But yeah, check us out. And that is it, I think, for today, guys. So we are excited to see you next weekend. After Vegas, we will be back on Tuesdays. This is a Tuesday night show, Transworld Motocross Live. Or maybe, hey, if you guys want to help me, leave some names in the comments. I saw some on the last video. Like I said, I'm still thinking of what I actually want to call this, but I do believe it's what works for me is the Tuesday night program. So TWMX Tuesdays, Tuesday Moto Talk, whatever. We can think of some names. But right now, Transworld Motocross live stream on Tuesday nights. That's where we're going to be. We'll see what else we can bring to you. Maybe after SMX, probably jump in for a few random shows. Again,
Silly season, baby.
maybe some silly season news. But right now, obviously, the goal is testing. We're just making sure this is a cool format that you guys like, that we like. I think it's been great so far. I love seeing the comments come in. I definitely want to get that thing just rolling where we're just really engaging with you guys and getting the views up. So help me share this. Let's get some people in here for next weekend. And then we'll see if we can get some more guests. I didn't really plan for one this weekend. We had AP on last week. If you want to check that out, it's uploaded. That was cool. He's always been pretty involved with me and helping me out. So that's been pretty fun. So next weekend, maybe we'll see who we can get. And then, yeah, we're just going to go from there. But yeah, appreciate you guys for tuning in tonight. Thank you for spending time with us, and we will see you guys next Tuesday.